Okay.
Today, I am here to give you the assurance that I have not forgotten you.
If we want to see the new evangelization become more than just jargon, if we want to see it grow legs and gain traction and change the world, we have got to take seriously our responsibilities as husbands and fathers, and especially as sons of God.
I want to propose to you then that something that our world is desperately in need of in the midst of this crisis is Catholic Christian masculinity.
If you want to be a good father, then bring your children to confession with you.
I can't get there unless I become a man of ascesis, a man of asceticism, a man of training.
A man not doing penance, a man not disciplined, is not a man.
You guys have upped your game.
You know what, guys? I gotta say, I love the concept of Man Show.
Warning: the Catholic Man Show is about to begin.
Welcome to the Catholic Man Show. We're on the Lord's team, the winning side, so raise your glass. We haven't had very many people send us pictures of what they've been drinking. I'd be curious on what people have been sipping on over the summer.
I also would be curious about that.
Because I always like to find new things.
Uh-huh.
You know, explore new options.
Yeah.
So if you found something that's a delight,
it's really like, hitting well.
Yeah, let us know. Tag us.
Especially
let us know.
In like hot climates.
Yes, because it's
hot.
So hot here.
It is very hot.
Been
over 100 for I don't know how many days.
The
mercy rule has been in effect.
The first level of hell, some of the souls have come up to Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Just as extra punishment.
Right. And they're saying, actually, this is
a little worse.
This is worse than where I was.
It's a little hotter.
This is very hot. And I didn't know you could sweat so much in hell.
Yeah.
It's very sweaty.
So
that is one bad thing about Tulsa. It's kind of a sweaty place. in
the summertime, yeah.
But you get used to it. In fact, the other day I walked
your body adapts so quickly.
Yeah. The other day I walked outside and I was in the sun, like feeling the sunshine, and I thought, wow, it feels good out here. Like it was hot, but I was thinking the heat, like it feels good. And then I looked at the temperature and it was 105. And I thought, well, I guess I've adjusted. I'm wearing my summer body at this point or whatever.
Yes, it is very warm.
Yeah.
AC units are tough to keep up right now.
Yeah.
This evening we're drinking Slane Irish whiskey, traditionally triple distilled as most Irish whiskeys are.
Correct. Yeah.
Extra virgin oak. Now we looked this up. That
don't you think that's funny? It's like
extra.
It's you're a virgin. I'm an extra virgin.
Yes. So there's a guy, Lord Henry Cunningham, had a castle. He was a lord of an area.
That just sounds awesome.
In Ireland. And he decided he had this vision of bringing together Ireland with this big rock concert in front of his castle. And so in 1981, he did that. This is Slane Irish Whiskey Special Edition, The Legacy of 81, 40 Years of Music at Slane Castle. It almost looks like a Woodstock, an Irish Woodstock.
Yeah, it kind of does. It's much more orderly
than
what Woodstock
was.
The pictures that I have seen, obviously wasn't there.
Weren't born yet.
Yeah.
So, we're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
I would assume that this is a very smooth whiskey, being that it's triple distilled.
It is, yeah.
It's 45% ABV.
I really like this. I think that's fantastic. You're right. It is very smooth. It's definitely an Irish whiskey when you drink it, but it's got like some, I don't know, is it orange? What is it on the palate that is, I think, a little unusual? It's a really nice flavor, a little bit of pepper.
A little like the orange zest.
Yeah, orange zest. But there's something else there too. I'm having trouble putting my finger on it.
Nice.
I was really hoping that you would. How much was this?
I believe it was like $40.
Yeah, that's really great.
Yeah, I think
I don't know why. It's probably because it's mostly younger, I guess. But Irish whiskey is just a lot cheaper than. It's cheaper even than most bourbon. You know, because you can regularly get a decent bottle of Irish whiskey for less than $40. And I think it probably is younger. It's certainly younger than most scotches are going to be, I think.
Sure, because this is not there's no age description on it.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very rare or very common to see them in the 4 to 8 range. Like they're 4 to 8 years old. But
it's very good though. Slane Irish whiskey.
Yeah, I think this is great. Yeah, definitely worth picking up. I was in Wyoming this last weekend.
Oh yeah, how was it? Did you see any cowboys?
No. Well,
Okay.
I was there.
Yes.
Does that count?
Barely.
Okay. I did not have a cowboy hat, so
missed opportunity.
But I did get 3 bottles of Wyoming whiskey.
Oh, good idea.
Because it's only $32.
Did you grab me one?
I'll sell you one.
For $42.
Yeah, for $33.
Nice.
But Wyoming whiskey is just so good.
It is. It really is good. Yeah.
It's not like, oh, that's the best whiskey I've ever had, but per dollar for dollar.
ROI?
The ROI is strong.
Yeah.
Way better than the stock market these days. That's not actually true. That depends, but
never
it's
mind.
Just a joke.
I'm
it's
a
just a joke.
I'm a financial advisor. I cannot actually give advice on the
Hopefully
radio.
You bought QQQ on January 1st this year. Up 50%.
Nice.
Yeah.
So we just had a seminarian. We hosted a seminarian tonight for dinner. It was phenomenal.
Something that I like. I always think I need to do that more often. You know, I think all the time. Why don't we invite our parish priest over for dinner on a semi-regular basis? Not like every month, but
right,
a few times a year, and we should. And it's just one of those things. You just get busy, and life happens, and it's a year's gone by, and you still haven't had him over.
This is the same thing. Like even when we used to live right across the street from each other.
Yeah.
There were so many weeks where it's like, wow, we haven't even had dinner together, and we live across the street.
Yeah.
Which was so frustrating.
I know.
But yeah. So we had him over tonight. A wonderful seminarian, possibly getting ordained a deacon next year. It was really, just so refreshed.
He's the real deal.
Yeah, just really refreshed to hear him talk about some of the things that he thinks is going on in the church and his outlook. It was just so beautiful. And so let me tell you something that he was talking to me about, because we were just talking about the priesthood in general, and some issues that obviously the priesthood has had over the course of the last 50, 80 years, and how today there's effeminate priests, and how do we because he's very interested just himself in understanding why is there effeminate priests? Why is it on the outside there's effeminate, inside?
What is it about the priesthood that attracted these people?
Right, and so
because the priesthood is hard.
Right.
It's not an effeminate gig.
Right. So he's just very interested in finding this out, right? And he made this beautiful point on how there's no the longer that I've studied this, there's no this silver bullet that's gonna fix all this, right? He made this analogy, he's talking about how as a young man, you think that, oh well, if we just did this would change.
Yeah.
This would change, and he's like, that's just such a immature way of thinking, and he didn't say immature as in a very slight necessarily, as far as it's not
right.
I'm not degrading you or your thought process, but it's just it's just not a well-formed.
Finished thinking it through.
Right, it's not a well-formed thought. He said it's about Christ is hung up on the cross, and it's everything is between two nails is what he's talking about. So the two nails that are holding Christ up, right? And so there's not an extreme one way or the other. They're both holding Christ up, and it's about finding this, the middle ground of and centered in Christ. And then he said something like, so there's not like this one silver bullet, like it's both nails that are hanging Christ up on the cross. And so like it's not going to be one thing, but there's multiple things. It's multiple faceted. And then he said like, and then Christ died, and what happened? They pierced his side. Right? He already died, and they pierced his side.
Yeah.
And it's like, so what did he die for? He died out of love, like the birth of the church. So he was just talking about how, like, if everything that you've lived for isn't stemmed from the love that you have of the church, then there's not going to be like this one silver bullet that's going to fix everything. But it's always between these two nails that held up Jesus on the crucifix. That's what's going to save us.
Did he say what the two nails are?
Well, no. I mean, this is all.
It's all just a metaphor.
Yeah, a metaphor. But I just thought it was like beautiful, like this idea of like, it's not like, oh, if we just change the liturgy to this, it'd fix all of our problems, or oh, if we just did this boot camp, or we just did this program, or we just like went after these men. It's like no. It's like there's men who are who need to be. It's just like fatherhood, right? There's a way of fathering your child where you have to be stern and you have to like be a disciplinarian. And then there's other times where you have to look your kid in the face and like look them in the eyes and tell them you love them and that you're proud of them and that like you're called to something greater, and you push them in that way. And so he's like, there's not just like this one size fits all.
I do think there is a silver bullet, but it's kind of cheating. I think the silver bullet is evangelization, and that means everybody and everything. It means evangelizing yourself, evangelizing everyone, and it's like, yeah, but that incorporates a lot of stuff. All right,
So anyway,
Jesus.
Jesus is the answer.
I like Jesus.
Big fan.
We're
laying down my life for him.
Yeah. Okay. Are you ready?
Yes.
Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles, here with Adam Minahan. And that's it. Nobody else. Not today. Juan's back.
Juan is back in America,
He's just
though.
not here, though.
He has a lot of tidying up to do.
That is so true.
Yeah.
You don't even know.
And then Jim's getting ready to go on vacation, so he just thinks that he can just like leave us high
where's
and
he
dry.
going?
I don't know, but he just thinks that he can just like,
Not cool.
up and leave and without even giving us like
He
a
didn't even
notice.
ask.
Yeah.
He didn't even ask permission.
Unbelievable.
I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But he is coming with us to the Holy Land, so that's pretty cool.
Yep, going to the Holy Land. Cannot wait. I think my parents are going.
Are they?
I think they are.
Nice.
Yeah. So, you want to hang out with Tim Minahan?
The biggest man in the world.
Come on over to the Holy Land with us right after Easter 2024.
Come shake that man's hand.
Do your best.
It's a feet.
Yes.
It's a foot. Well, we did something very exciting this week. We harvested some of our first sweet corn.
Oh, nice.
It was fantastic.
Wow, I can't believe it's already ready.
Most of it isn't.
Okay.
But just a few of them
Okay.
were ready.
Yeah.
And maybe it was a little early, but
A little premature, but it's okay.
yeah. There's a trade-off. I haven't sprayed any chemicals or anything to keep the bugs off.
Mm-hmm.
So they have earwigs. Basically, every ear of corn has a worm eating it.
Mm.
So there's a trade-off between how long are you going to let this corn grow? You're going to let it mature. The longer that goes, the more of the ear that worm will eat.
Mm.
So you get less of the cob. So, I mean, like right now, we're just chopping the end off of each one, and we still get, a good 8 inches or so, 8 to 10 inches of a corn cob. It's it's just fine.
Yeah.
But man, like fresh corn.
Yeah.
It is just it's.
Did you teach your daughters how to shuck it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We in fact I did a lesson today with them on how to identify when the corn is ready. We're looking for size and color. We want ears that are of a good size, and then the silk that comes at the silky stuff that comes out the end, that needs to be nice and like brown and it needs to look dead, kind of. Because when it's first comes out, it's kind of like this pretty purple color, at least the variety that I have. So that's been really fun because, we've been watching this corn grow.
Yeah, that was good.
It was really, really good.
Good.
Fresh corn is corn is just one of those things that if you eat it fresh, it's totally different.
Yeah.
Because it rapidly, when you pick it, the sugar in the corn rapidly turns into starch.
That makes sense.
And so most corn that you see on the side of the road is not actually being grown for consumption. The vast majority of corn in this country is called field corn. It's just going for ethanol or like cornmeal or other thing, or corn syrup.
Yeah.
A lot of it is just to be getting turned into corn syrup.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It's because corn syrup is in everything.
It is in, I think it's in 75% of the things in the grocery store.
Yeah. But we are going to Holy Land. Back to that really fast with Father Patrick Briscoe, Dominican priest from the Dominican House of Studies, Eastern Providence of the Dominican House. Really excited.
Yeah, man. This
Pamela
is awesome.
and
Pamela will be there.
Haley will be there. Jim and Kathy, my parents. So we got a whole host of people.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm really excited. It's gonna be great.
And we're gonna go walk the footsteps of Jesus.
Right. We're gonna have a lot of fun.
We're gonna see the Holy Land.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of fun doing it.
Yeah.
So, you can go to selectinternationaltours.com and check out, sign up and join us for next year. Yeah. So also, we have the camp out coming up. That's gonna be opened up here pretty quick. We're also gonna be giving away a home altar here pretty soon.
Yeah.
So we're starting that next month. Let's see.
And this thing is sweet. I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to say exactly what it is because it's going to be customized for the person who wins it.
Mm-hmm.
But the ones that I have seen from these guys they're just amazing. And it's a friend of ours who's doing this. And if you missed the story, in Gower, Missouri, I was going to say saint, but Sister Wilhelmina, who was exhumed and found to be incorrupt, they're the ones who built the altar for her.
Right.
There.
Yeah.
One of my pet peeves is when people call incorrupt saints, when they call them incorruptible. Because they're not incorruptible. Many of the incorrupt saints do eventually corrupt. For whatever reason. God just decides, well, this miracle is going to last for so long, and then it won't. And that's, it doesn't mean it's not a miracle.
Right.
But they're not incorruptible. They're incorrupt.
Currently.
Yeah. It's a small thing, not a hill I die on. But it is a pet peeve.
Good to know.
Nonetheless.
We'll start talking more about incorruptible saints.
Yeah. Just to make me happy.
So, anyway, let's see what else. Anything else going on you want to talk about?
No.
Okay. So we're going to talk about, I think we're going to talk about wonder tonight.
I was wondering what we would be talking about.
No wonder.
Yeah.
So recently we were sitting on the back.
What is in a wonder ball? I was actually singing that song.
You mean Wonderwall?
Recently. Oh, wonder, wow, wow.
That's not what I thought you were
What's
talking
in a
about.
wonder ball?
That's not what I
You
thought
remember that commercial?
Yeah, but I didn't think that's
It's like
what
a
you were talking
candy chocolate ball.
Mhm.
There'd be something in it.
Yeah.
I got some. I don't remember what was in them.
Doesn't matter.
I still have to wonder about it.
So recently we were out sitting on the back porch and admiring the beautiful Oklahoma sunset that takes place here. We have some of the most beautiful sunsets.
I agree. Everybody says that they have the prettiest sunsets, but that's just because they've never been here.
Right. So we were out in the backyard, and my son Jude, he looks at me. He said, "Dad, have you ever noticed that there are different birds that flap their wings at a different rate of speed?" He said, he actually said something like, "Did you notice that there's some birds that flap their wings faster than others?"
Yeah.
And I was kind of caught off guard, by the question.
Had you noticed that before?
Yeah, but I hadn't really
thought about it.
Thought about it too much. I mean, obviously the hummingbird goes a lot faster than like an eagle.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like a lot.
Right. And I was like, yeah, no, not really. Like, because I just wanted to see where he was going with everything. And I was like, I hadn't really thought about that, Jude. And just kind of left it there. And he goes, yeah. See, Dad, if you don't look at all the birds and you just look at one bird, you can actually you can focus on that bird and like figure out like more about that bird instead of seeing all the birds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, sitting there thinking, I was like, man, that is really awesome that he thought about that, because it made me think about how this is how God views his creation. Right? God doesn't view crowds. He doesn't know crowds. He doesn't know tribes. He doesn't know groups of people. Like, he knows the person. He knows David Niles. He knows Adam Minahan. Like, he doesn't view groups of people or clans or tribes.
Right. Yeah, he doesn't hold groups in existence.
Right.
He holds individual persons in existence.
And because of that, like, he knows everything about that person because he created these people.
Right.
Right. And so, like, I just thought, like, man, how innocent and like, but beautiful that this thought process was, that you don't know groups of people, but you know the person. And how in today's world, it's really interesting how we always throw people into tribes, or which side are you leaning, or what camp are you in. It's very easy to do that, right? Oh well, he's heterodox, oh he's orthodox, then I'm going. It's very easy to just like make group people into certain groups.
Yeah.
But
yeah, it's easy because it's a cheap way of trying to know somebody
and dismiss them.
Yeah, well, that you end up dismissing them, but you're trying to know them, right? It's like, oh, I think, but because I know, oh, you're conservative, therefore that is an important label for me. I'm just saying, for example, because now I know other things about you,
right?
Or at least you think you do, and maybe you do, maybe you don't, but it's like cheating,
right? Because this is not what Jesus did, right? Obviously, because he went and ate with the Pharisees. He did things, and it wasn't because, oh well, you're this group of people, but it was because he wanted to have personal interaction, personal encounter with individuals, not groups of people.
Yeah, and especially for him, he wanted them to have an encounter with him,
right?
Which is not quite the same for the rest of us, but still, we model ourselves off of.
Right, and so I just thought, like, how interesting it is that here's my son talking about birds, and like it made me start thinking about evangelization and how God sees His creation and how He views humanity, and how if we're going to really make a difference, if we really do we really believe that the gospel can change people's lives? Do we really believe the tenets of our faith?
Yeah.
Well, if we do, then it's important to know the person, to share that with them, because we don't share it with groups of people. Very, very few times, as much as I love men's conferences, as much as I love big Catholic events, because it's great to build community and things like that, but very rarely do those actual events change people's lives. It's more of the encounter with individuals.
I think they do. They impact people, but it's more of the accelerated decision.
It's a catalyst that brings.
Catalyst.
Yeah,
that's right.
But it's the individual, like as Pope Francis says, the accompaniment of
a personal encounter with a person who was introducing you to Christ.
Right, in a new way,
being Christ to that person.
That's right. Man, I wish I actually had my laptop here, but
go get it.
It's downstairs.
Dang it! You know what? I need to move my chair up just a wee bit closer.
It's okay. We'll just see where it goes.
All right. Oh. This is better. I felt like I was having to lean
too far in.
Before it was like wearing me out.
Well, good. Well, I'm glad you fixed it.
Oh gosh, me too.
Yeah. I don't want you to be uncomfortable, bro. I'm ready. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. Sipping on a little bit of this Slain Irish whiskey. As we mentioned, it's only like $40 or so. Go pick it up.
I really like it. Yeah, I'm gonna buy this next time if I see it in the liquor store. I'm gonna pick it up.
Yeah, it's really, really good. So we're just talking. I think we're gonna try to talk about wonder tonight. Talk about a little bit of evangelization, and we'll just kind of see where the conversation goes here. But before the break, we were talking about how these people that you're encountered in your life, that you're trying to in the Bible verse 1 Peter 3:16, it talks about like always be ready to defend your faith for the hope that's within you.
Give an account.
Yeah, I mean I'm paraphrasing here.
Okay.
For the hope that is within you, it presupposes that somebody has already realized that there's some kind of hope within you.
Right, that they've recognized a hope in you.
Right. And so you're encountering somebody and wanting to share this with them, right?
Uh-huh.
You obviously the goods that you have, you want to share it with other people. Like this is the natural. We're made for communion. This is the natural thing that you want to do. I mean, even like in a very secular way, right? You see a good movie. What is the first thing you want to do? You want to go tell people about that movie that you just saw,
everybody about it,
right? Because it's something that's good that happened to you, and you want to share it with other people, right? And so much more for the gospel. But then,
if only it was if only it was as easy to get someone to go to church with you as it is to get them to go see the new movie that came out. I wish it was that easy.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so the communication of the gospel is tough, right, at times.
Well, yeah, because, we mentioned already about groups of people, and basically what we're talking about is preconceived ideas, preconceived notions, and Christianity has, people have preconceived notions about what Christianity is. Whether you are a Christian or you aren't a Christian, you have all of these ideas, preconceived notions about, oh, you're Catholic, or oh, you're fill in the blank.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody has done this. I have done it too. I mean, it's like if someone says, oh, you should be Protestant. Well, I have ideas about Protestantism
mm-hmm.
that prevent me from just biting onto that idea,
Right.
And maybe those things that I've put up that would prevent me from doing that, maybe they're good, maybe they're true. Mm-hmm. Maybe they're not true, but that's where the difficulty is in overcoming all of these defenses people have put up around different ideas about Christianity, and we do it with all kinds of stuff, right?
Politics, sports, football team.
Exactly.
I mean, like it doesn't matter.
All of it.
Yeah,
and we do it in our lives, and for the most part, that's good that we do that, because otherwise, we might be just blown by the wind with everything that came across our path. But this is, I think, where it gets back to the individual part that you're talking about, because the boundaries, the walls, barriers that one person has put up around Catholicism,
mm-hmm.
They're not always going to be the same. They're going to be, and some of them might be very unique. I think in general, they will, often you'll encounter some of the same resistance points, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of those resistance points are just false, right? It's like, oh, I know if I say this, you'll leave me alone,
right?
Like called, the one I think about is, it's like, oh, I'm not going to be Catholic because you guys call your priests father, and the Bible says to call no man father.
Right.
I just think, like, really, that's why you're not going to become. What'd you call your dad?
Right.
You didn't call him father, did you? You better not have.
Right.
Oh. And you don't call the doctor, right?
Right.
Because it's the same in the original text. It's the same. It says "call no man father." It also could mean doctor,
mm-hmm.
or rabbi. So
yeah,
I just there's stuff like that. Okay, it's like that's not a real objection,
right?
Yeah. But we have to but the point is individual approach.
Right. So how do
the one bird?
Yeah, and so how do you communicate this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And communication is like this transmission of information, right? That's what communication is. And information leads to knowledge, and knowledge produces wisdom, right? And so like the Latin form of communication actually means like commonwealth.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so it's like a wealth of knowledge that you're this wealth that you have that you want to share with the common good.
Uh-huh.
Now, some of you are probably thinking like, well, I have not been receiving my dividend check, right? I've been Christian for 37 years, and I have not received one payment of this wealth that you're talking about.
I was wondering what you're talking about.
Yeah, this payment, right?
I have not.
Yeah. Okay, good. Well, because that's not the wealth. I mean, some people are so poor that all they have is money.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah.
They say money doesn't buy happiness. I'm just asking for a chance.
But we have the gospel. We have the good news of Jesus Christ, right? We have the thing that every heart desires and wants to be fulfilled in, but just doesn't either know about it or has wrong notions about it, or hasn't been communicated to. And so, like, how do we do that, right? Well, I think that while there's not this single silver bullet like we were talking about in the first segment, but I think that a cure to this is wonder. I think this is like what even the rabbis, was sitting at the temple and listening to this 12-year-old boy in awe and wonder.
Yeah.
About the knowledge the wisdom that he has. Like, how does this 12-year-old boy? It's like wisdom, like makes you stop and makes you think. Like, wait a minute, what? Like, it's this emotion that grabs you on. Wait, this is something that's unusual. That is kind of intoxicating. That is something that makes me want to think about what's more behind. What else is behind this? And
yeah. No, I think that's right, because a lot of the time, the problem is that people have simply not even given thought to the choices that they've made, right? We're all raised, and we adopt to one degree or the next the worldview of our parents, okay? You're not going to believe everything exactly the way your parents do, but probably a lot of the things you believe and hold true about the world because that's what your parents believed and held true. And hopefully they were right, and they gave you a good foundation. But a lot of times we go and we have these ideas, and we have never really given them thought. And unless we develop the virtue of wonder, then we won't be habitually disposed to think about them. So when we encounter something that bumps up against one of these worldviews, we just run from it instead of defeating it or recognizing the truth in it, okay? Because nobody is right about everything that they believe. Okay, now if you're Catholic, you actually can say I'm right about everything I believe religiously. Okay, but I mean, we all believe things about all kinds of stuff. Who's the best football team, whatever.
Right.
Nobody's right all the time. Okay, and so unless you have that ability of which wonder helps us practice, then you're not gonna be ready to ponder those. When something you encounter something, it's like, hey, that's not what I believe. But if you do have that virtue and you're practiced at it, then when you encounter something that's like, I disagree with that. Now you have the ability to defeat it and to know and to walk away from it with peace, because I'm practiced in saying, well, let me think about this, let me wonder, let me ponder it, and I can now engage my rational faculty in a healthy and strong way where I can come to a conclusion and say, no, I was right in what I believed already, or maybe I wasn't, and either way, you walk away more in line with the truth. And so I don't think that's actually like the number one reason to have wonder in your life. I think wonder is good in itself. I think just the action of wondering, and like there's a beauty, like an intellectual beauty in wondering about things, right?
Sure.
And pondering things that you don't know the answer to. I think that is good by itself, but it does have the benefit teaching us and giving us good habits of our intellect to consider and come to conclusions.
Well, and this is why this helps us avoid just speaking in taglines, right? Just this surface level conversation of, even right before we were talking, or before we were recording, right? We were talking about how you were discussing something with a friend, and he mentioned something offhand about a topic, and you were like, well, where did you hear that? Like, clearly you're just repeating something that you have heard.
Yeah.
You don't know that for sure. You're just kind of talking in like sound bites. I think we do this all. I mean, I'm guilty of it. I think everybody's guilty of like talking in sound bites. Like,
yeah.
I hear about this.
I do it. I watch the news a lot.
Right. Thank goodness I don't.
I keep the financial channel on. You know, I have to.
Right. I'm so glad I don't have to do that.
But you're bombarded with that exact thing, just sound bite. And, by the end of the day, what are the sound bites I heard today? Well, let me tell you.
Right.
It was this, and it was this, and
But this actually goes against, I think, probably the virtue of humility, right? Because now you have all these like things, you have little sound bites that you want to be able to say and to win this argument or to express your point of view, and it's like, well, you actually don't have a point of view that's well thought out. You just have somebody else's point of view that you're regurgitating.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
About wonder.
Okay.
And maybe you have to answer it on the other side of the break because we're almost at our break. Do you think, in your opinion, because in order to wonder, you need a certain order in your life? And I'm just going to leave it there. I'm going to let you actually wonder.
About the question you're going to...
What is his question? What is he going to ask?
It's so riveting.
Ponder it.
Okay.
Think about it. Okay. We'll be right back on the other side of this break. This is the Catholic Man Show with Adam Minahan and David Niles.
You didn't even ask.
I did it on purpose. Welcome back to the Catholic Man Show. I'm David Niles here with Adam Minahan. Talk about wonder. Something not a lot of people talk about. John Sr., big proponent of wondering. So I was going to ask you about wonder. My question is, do you think that it is a way to get to a place or a sign that you have already gotten to a place? Okay, so here's what I mean. Do you think if someone is prone to wonder, does that mean that they already have order in their life, and that the order, like, okay, I have order, and that order promotes the wonder? Or do you think that the wonder itself would lead someone to have order? You see, is it a remedy, or is it a something that comes out of things that are already good?
Yeah, that's a good question. I probably say that it's.
You're gonna say it's both. I know you are.
Yeah, a little bit.
I knew it.
Yeah. But because I
also think it's both.
Because
I also would say
because I think the more order that
but it's a cop out.
Yeah.
Okay.
But because I think
take a stand.
I think because the more order you have, the more capabilities you are. You have the ability to wonder, because wondering, like if your life is not in order, then you can still wonder, but you're probably wondering about lower level goods, less goods.
Yeah, I think that's true. That's a good point.
Because you're having to overcome different obstacles that are in your life because you don't have a well ordered life. You don't have the highest goods at the highest goods.
Yeah.
If you do have that, if you're living this virtuous life and you have the hierarchy of good and you have a well ordered life, then you actually have the mental capacity to orient your wonder towards the highest good. This is why contemplation, this is why you can't just all of a sudden become a contemplative in prayer, right?
Yeah.
Because odds are, unless it's just a supernatural grace that you've been given, odds are you have a lot of noise in your prayer life. You have a lot of distractions. You have a lot of incapabilities.
And an attention deficit.
An attention deficit to where you're not allowed to just rest in Christ.
Yeah.
And so it's a ladder of ascent of your spiritual life and maturity, but it's not just because you don't have an ordered life doesn't mean you can't wonder. And I think that wonder does help make you stop and realize, like, wait, is this actually the highest good that I should be doing?
Yeah, I think that's right. I think wonder is always self-reflective. So no matter what it is you're wondering about, it always has a way of making you wonder about yourself in relation to that thing.
This is because we're creatures. This is right. This is because we're made in the image and likeness of God. So the more we come to understand what reality truly is, the more we have a clearer picture of who God really is.
Yeah, and we're relational beings. And so the question ultimately is always, how do I relate to that thing that I'm wondering about, right? And so wonder always has this element of self-reflection. So the more you wonder, even if you're just stargazing, it still is putting yourself in perspective with the thing that you're wondering on, right? Which is why it's a very important thing to do. And I know we talk about leisure a lot, but I don't think that you're not going to have time for wonder. You're not going to be able to do it unless you first pursue leisure. I think leisure I'm not going to say it's a prerequisite for wonder, because you could wonder while you're not leisuring. You could be laboring, but still wonder. However, I think the
it facilitates
optimal wonder is during times of leisure.
So I think about, I was kind of using that example of those priests in the temple, right? And here's a 12-year-old boy that walks in.
Yeah.
And he just has such a mature faith, obviously, like this, having all these, like, this wisdom. It makes them stop and say, like, wait, who are you? And this is what Christ, comes back to his apostles and say, well, who do you say that I am? And it makes them think about, like, okay, what is my relationship with this person? And namely the person of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
But because we are made in communion with one another, right? So, like, there are certain things that because of our relationship, you reveal certain things to me about God the Father that I would not have been able to comprehend or, like, being revealed to on my own, right? So there's certain things that you do that pushes me to do, like, to live, a virtuous life that I would not have done without our friendship.
Sure.
And this is what the beauty of friendship, right? Because that's based on the foundation of Jesus Christ. Because it brings out a more fullness of man, a more fullness of who you are created to be, and reveals to you even more of who your creator is. Because the more you realize who you are as the creature, you can have a better understanding of who your creator is.
Totally. And I think that's really the biggest benefit of wonder, is that as we sit here and ponder, and I think stargazing is maybe like the prototypical example.
Well, this is what Plato and Aristotle was talked about, right? It's like, how do you cultivate wonder in your life? This isn't a John Senior thing who talks about stargazing all the time, but it's a Plato thing, right? It's a Socrates,
which is why John Senior was a fan of it,
right?
Yeah.
It's like being able to stargaze shows, like, how little of a being you are in this vast world, a vast universe.
But but it puts you in perspective with God. Okay.
Right.
God is so much greater than the infinite expanse of the universe. It's as if nothing compared to him, right? But still, with our limited capacity for understanding things, it goes a long way in showing the grandeur and magnificence and majesty of God, right?
Right.
And it's one of those things that I think 100 years ago, nobody needed to tell you to wonder at stuff. It's only in the last 100 years or so when we've had, now all of a sudden, man went from a creature who mostly walked places to now riding in cars. there used to be darkness, which is an accelerant to your wonder.
Sure.
Because you don't know what's in it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it makes you wonder. Like
Right.
fear can also, like, I'm not sure that's a healthy wonder, but it does make you wonder, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then with the rise of electricity, all of a sudden, we mastered the world in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
In just our own little sphere of the world, right? Where now the room I'm in, it's light because I want it to be light. We're no longer subject to the cycle of the day, the way that humanity was since the beginning. And so, the farmer would spend, he didn't have an iPod. I mean, I know nobody has iPods anymore.
Yeah, that shows your.
But the only time he could hear music, the only time the farmer probably heard music if
it was played,
it was if he played it himself. Yeah. Okay, occasionally, maybe, he'd be in town and maybe hear some, but it's like, unless you go to the opera, the only way you heard music is if you or someone in your household was playing the music. Okay, and so the world just became so much cheaper over the last 100 years when everything we wanted was at our fingertips instantly. Mm-hmm. It actually devalues all of these things, and it causes us not to appreciate them, and we don't wonder about them anymore. And all these magnificent goods, music is a great example. Magnificent. Yeah, I listen to music sometimes. People don't really care about the music,
right?
And I know people think they do. Mm-hmm. But what if you couldn't? What if you never got to hear it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was over at this last weekend. We were in Texas, and we were at a guy's house who's done very well for himself, and he decided to move out to a ranch and basically build a ranch and become kind of like a homesteader. Right? He has a ton of animals and bees and all this, like, just a full-blown homestead life. Because he was talking to me, he's just realized, like, there's just so many things. He came to the realization he took his kids on a vacation to the Ritz-Carlton, right? And it was like super fancy, cream of the crop, super nice, and they were like incredibly bored, and like, this is the worst. And he realized, okay, I got to make a change. And so he went out and bought land, and then like put up this metal shed, like, and they lived out of it for like 6 months. And he actually lived in his car, while his wife lived in the bed because there was only like a small bed, and he had his kids live in a hammock for like 6 months.
Really?
Yeah, and then, like he said, like, then he was able to get a little.
Was it all one hammock, or did they each get their own hammock?
Yeah, each got their own.
I mean, he was rich, so he could probably buy them all a hammock.
Right, but so then, like, they moved into like another metal building. Like, as the house was being built, he moved in, and they said, like, oh, they were so excited because there was AC, and he realized, they've been reset. Because like now they're excited just because there's AC.
Yeah.
And so I was talking to him, and I was like, yeah, isn't it interesting how realism brings out humanity, and how some of the conveniences in this life, like, while they are convenient, while we've made progress.
And good.
Convenient.
I mean, like, air conditioning is good.
Oh, yeah. Especially, I mean, we were talking about how hot it was at the beginning of this episode. But how it has taken away from us these opportunities to be human. And so we have to be intentional about doing so, and like figuring out new ways to do so. And I don't think we've done a very good job of that as a society.
I agree.
We're outside of time on the radio, so check us out.
Outside of time. What you said.
I think so. So go check us out on the Catholic Man Show, CatholicManShow.com. And we'll continue this conversation for a little bit longer. We're on the Lord's team.
The winning side.
So raise your glass.
And cheers to Jesus.
So I mean, I was giving him the example, like, how awesome is it? And this is the example. I was just totally riffing off of John Sr., right? But like, how awesome is it that we have a dishwasher? Dishwashers are great. We love dishwashers.
I actually don't like mine, but that's all right.
Well, that's, but you like the concept of dishwashers.
I love the concept of dishwashers.
Right.
Yes.
But before then, for all of humanity up until the last, like, 100 years or whatever, whenever dishwashers were made, I don't know, 60s, 50s, 60s, I have no idea.
Probably, yeah, somewhere in there. It's pretty close.
men and women got together after dinner and washed dishes. And what happened during that time? Well, they had opportunity to talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know, husband and wife, you were talking.
Yeah.
Or even just spending time together.
Yeah.
Just doing something together, accomplishing something together.
I mean, Adam, you're being a little bit ridiculous, like suggesting the notion that men were doing dishes 100 years ago. Like,
I'm sure they were.
Maybe, I don't know.
Well, you know, okay, so there's plenty of
All
examples.
I know is St. Teresa's dad, at one point, this is after he was a widower, he decided he's not doing any household chores anymore. It's in his it's in the biography.
Really?
Yeah. He's like, I have all these daughters. I'm tired of doing domestic work.
I have no one else to impress.
I'm not doing it.
Yeah.
And so he never did. No more. I remind Lady Pamela about St. Louis Martin. He's a saint.
Worthy of being emulated.
I've taken him up, my love.
Yes.
As my model.
But I mean, same thing with air conditioning, right? Before air conditioning, everybody, like for all of humanity up until the last 100 years, people would be outside on their front porch, to stay cool.
Stinking.
Yeah, and sweating.
Yeah.
But
you just didn't know it because you were all stinky.
Right.
So it was fine.
But it gave you the opportunity to do what? Have conversation.
Yeah. I mean, now you can still sit inside and talk about how hot it is outside.
Sure.
You can still
without sweating.
You can still do that. Yeah.
But we don't do so this is the point though. But we don't do that, right? We become so utilitarian in purpose, like in our lives. It's like, okay, good. Now that we don't have to do that, what can we do to fill this time up to be more productive?
Yeah. Netflix.
And so we still have to, I think we still have to be intentional with having real human moments. And I think that's not easy to do. And I think that like you have to, as a father, as you know, as the husband and father of your household, like you have to like make time to do that. Whether that's family game night, whether that is like just sitting outside in the backyard. Like we have to do things together as a family to where we can cultivate conversation and spending time together and just being in the presence of one another.
So what do you think is the number one ingredient for wonder? Like it's like, all right, someone says, all right, cool. Yeah, let me try this wonder thing. What do they do?
So I think there's a couple things that you can do, right? So I mean, obviously, like Plato and Aristotle says, like go stargazing. I think that's an easy one.
Yeah.
But I think silence is really the big thing.
That's what I think.
So I think silence in your life allows you to stop and think about things.
Yeah. I would say a silent encounter with a good. So for me, something that if I want to have like oh, let me just sit down and have some wonder in my life, I might pour a glass of whiskey, maybe get my pipe and just go sit, right? You don't need those things. You don't need the whiskey and the pipe. I do think that they help. I mean, I think they do.
Mm-hmm.
Because sometimes if you try to go from the modern life of doing, and then to just crashing into doing nothing, it's almost overwhelming, right? So having something to drink, it could be water. But like having something, it's like I'm still doing something, but I don't have to think about it, right? Like, but those things themselves are good, right? When we're using the goods of this life for their goodness, I do think that a silent encounter with the good, so whether the stars
or adoration, I think adoration is a wonderful way to cultivate wonder.
Absolutely. But if you just try to like sit in a room and be quiet, then I don't know that right away is gonna work, because what do you wonder about? And I guess you could wonder about that. Well, I don't know.
Well, so this is
wonder what
but
people
this is,
wonder.
I mean, we've already talked about this, right? Because if you have an ordered life, then you're able to wonder about. You understand what the highest goods are, and then you're able to wonder about them.
I think that if you start off with creation, so like this is why I think the pipe helps. I'm just sitting down and I'm just enjoying hear what's before me. And out of that enjoyment, wonder springs. That I start to you start to think about the things that are so great here in front of you.
Mm-hmm.
And why are they so great, and how could they, and how they could be that way, and all of the stuff, and before you know it, you're off and running. But
yeah, another thing that has really helped me in developing this sense of wonder has been reading the great books. Reading about, and take what the ancients had to say. Homer, going through the Iliad, going through the Odyssey, reading Plato. What do these guys have to say about it?
Yeah.
Filling my imagination with these things has helped me orient my thought process and ordered my thought process to where I'm able to think of what is piety? Which is something we're going to be discussing, in our Patreon book club. We're going to be going through Euthyphro next week, where we talk, where Plato and Euthyphro, or Socrates and Euthyphro, talk about what is piety? Well, that right there, reading that short little dialogue gives you the springboard to just sit on the back porch, watch the sunset, and think through in your mind, what did I just read? And who was right and what was the wrong arguments? And just start understanding what they were talking about.
The last thing I want to say about wonder is that the wanderer is always going to be better at evangelization. Simply, if for no other reason, but I think there are more reasons than this, that they will be more interesting. I think everybody probably knows a couple people in their life. It's that person is just, every time you talk to them, you just like talking to them. They're so interesting. The things they say, the responses they give to the things you say, it's hard to always put into words why it is. Mm-hmm. What is it about that guy that's so interesting, right? And I think the person who wonders a lot is prone to be that person, okay? Because you have pondered. And so the more you wonder, the more wonderful you become.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you into a more interesting person. And therefore, so more attractive, and so I think your evangelization can become very natural and almost casual,
because people realize the hope is what they
right.
There's something
right.
different
because
about you.
You as you ponder the goods in the world, the goods in life, you come to understand them better, and you can order them better, right? And so your evangelization can take a more natural and a more ordered, and like I said, almost casual. Not that it is casual, but you know what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that's the last thing I want to say.
Cool. Yeah, I think that's good. That's good.
I have nothing. I refuse to say anything else.
Fair enough.
Unless you ask me to.
What are your thoughts on?
No.
No, I mean that I think that's all I have as well. But I just I think there is such a link between wonder, communion, friendship, a cure for isolation, and evangelization. And I don't think that would be an ingredient. If you asked me all of those things individually, how do we have better evangelization? How do we become better friends? How do we avoid isolation?
Yeah, it almost sounds stupid to say, how do we improve our evangelization? Well, we need to wonder more. It's
right.
All right, get this guy out of here. Okay? Who invited Jeff?
Yeah. All right. No more Jeff.
Yeah.
You're off the board.
Jeff is dumb.
But I think that this is why I think Jesus was so successful in reaching these people, because there was something about him. They were wondering, wait, who is this man?
Yeah.
So
Very
we should be a wondrous man.